This is SeamNotes. Taste, standards, and the decisions nobody sees.
Don't decorate over the chaos. Every one of us has done that at some point in our life, designed and built over all the chaos in our life. We want to build a solid foundation to put the home on as a metaphor, and we are the home, right? And then we'll talk about physical home too. That way the beauty actually holds. Whatever strong foundation we have, then we can build on that and it'll hold. There's a saying that is, life is a balance, right? And I always push back and say, well, you can't balance chaos because life is in the nature of chaos. So how do we balance chaos? We don't want to do that. So today is about structure, because high end isn't a vibe. It's built.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I'm a vibe guy. I love a good vibe.
I totally get that.
Right?
I get that. Yeah.
So let's start off with, because of my design build background, right? So I actually build, for people that don't know, I build homes pretty much in New York City, but other places in the country as well. And from ground up or just renovation. So, and I love the metaphor of, let's start with the foundation, self.
Great.
Right?
Okay.
So we're going to talk about the foundation that I built chaos on, right? I fortunately or unfortunately came from a very chaotic background, right? Parental, a lot of stuff going on. And I learned to just push it all down, keep it together, right? Societal norm kind of dictated that for me. And, you know, I did the best I could at a young, early age, from birth to in my late teens, of being everything my mother wanted. Right?
So you met the expectation / standard.
1000%. I was as perfect as I could be for her. Whatever she wanted, she said jump. I said how high. Right?
Got it.
In my late teens, I started to rebel, of course. And then we fast forward, you know, I get married, I leave home, and I still was trying to keep that foundation and just keep building on it, right? And I was all over the place, as maybe a lot of 20-something-year-old people are, right? Fast forward to the last 20 years, that foundation started crumbling. I built the house. I changed the room, put the new windows on, put the roof on, and it wasn't holding, right? And no matter how much glue, tape, effort, strength, money, relationships I threw at it, it just kept falling apart. And people would say, oh, that's life. So I started actual design build firm, and creating and designing and building things was something I was very good at. And I made a career out of it.
He's very good at it.
Right?
Very good at it.
So, but I think and thank you for that. I think my claim to fame is realizing that the foundation is the person, is me, is the client, right? If we truly understand and connect with self, the real self, the vulnerable self, the fearful self, all the versions of self, I finally learned to love all of them. Instead of trying to push the wins away I didn't want, versions of self, right? We all have many versions, right? Son, husband, friend, lover, boss, fill in the blank. I finally realized that I wasn't loving all of them. From childhood on, I kind of negated the weaker one, the one that saw the color and wanted to play and listen to music and sang into the hairbrush and etc. Right? That one I kind of locked away in my tough years. I was the guy, you know, and yes, I lowered the octave and I talk like this and everything, you know, did it all. And I built a foundation on that, and then it kept crumbling, and parts of it, you know, when I finally learned that all the
juggling all of them. Right. Okay.
I finally love them all, acknowledge them all, parent them all. Then I started to build a new foundation. I didn't even try to fix the old one or repair it. I built a new one from self-love, strength, wisdom, mind, compassion for self first. All of this was about self first. Then I expanded it to others, new foundation. Then I started building the walls, right? I started putting in the reinforcement. And the reinforcement for me in the foundation key, probably the biggest key, was the pillars of our routine.
Right.
So James started a spiritual path that really I was connected to, right? I found meditation to be extremely helpful in settling the mind, because when the mind got calm, I could see clearer. I wasn't caught up in the chaos, right? And I built from there. So, meditation, my spiritual path, wellness, taking care of self, working out, right? And not working out to look good, but feeling like I needed to take care of myself so I could be there for myself, right? Eating well, having a dialogue with self, all the things of wellness, right? Surrounding myself with people that not were just like-minded, because you and I share this in common. We love eclectic groups of people.
Absolutely.
I love eclectic.
Absolutely.
Like you'll see if I throw a party or people, circles of all different kind of people, right?
Everywhere.
And I love that. But really surrounding myself with people that were kind and nice and cared about me, and I cared about them, and we shared some things in common, right? And so all of that are the foundation pillars that I learned to put in my foundation for my home before I built the walls. And every day I reinforce this foundation, and then I start putting all these things together and building the rooms of love and kindness and standards, and building a luxurious environment that I love, that's important to me, that represents one of the versions of me.
Correct.
Right? But filling my home physically and emotionally with things that I'm connecting to in a positive way, right?
And enhance the structure and decorate the structure in a way that's harmonious and luxurious and beautiful, and it feels good.
To me.
Right.
Right. Regardless of what a magazine says or Instagram says.
Because
whatever.
It's not a cover-up. It is a true
representation of who I am now. It used to be, so good point. It used to be when I was younger, I wasn't aware that it was a cover-up, right? I was trying to be what my parent said I was supposed to be. And as a young male, right, I was learning how to be the guy, how to be in charge, and how to have a voice, and how to, all the things that society and our friends tells us that we're supposed to be as a man. And then I realized, and I truly believe this today, that it had nothing to do with any of those things, period, right? So that was kind of the cover-up in a sense. But it was more out of ignorance, because I wasn't connected to self. As I've grown, it's not even about building the home, the foundation, and putting everything inside. It is about being a spiritual being, which is, I think we're all spiritual beings having a human experience.
Absolutely.
Right now.
Yes.
Right?
I agree. We agree on that.
Really connecting to that source of higher power, faith, whatever that is for you, and trusting myself, and then listening to myself, listening to the wisdom and the consciousness, and then building this environment that I flourish in. For me, it's got to be an environment. The home must represent, spiritually and physically, it must represent creativity, how I feel creative. Like if you were to walk into my home, and I've walked into yours, very creative spaces, right? And it's constantly changing. For me, you'll walk into my space and it's going to be different almost every time, right? And you can really gauge where I am emotionally by how it's evolved. If I haven't changed my space in a while, I'm too caught up in some other things and I'm not connecting to self. If you leave me in any room too long, I'm going to change it completely. And that's with self as well. I'm not talking just physically, evolving self constantly, right? I tell my clients, you're never going to be done. And they're like, oh my God, I can't wait for all this to be done. And as soon as it's done, I want you to go in and change the art. I want you to change the rugs. I want you to change the pillows. I want you to move the furniture around. And I'm talking inside. I want you to connect differently, emotionally to the space in a positive way. Right? Let's think how we can constantly change it up and evolve in order for it to not only be more interesting, but for us to reconnect to it emotionally, because the structure is self. We are the foundation. Instead of putting all the chaos on it and saying, oh, let's not pay attention to how we feel emotionally. Let's not go deep and have discussions. Let's not connect to our spiritual or our philosophical or our intellectual worlds, right? Let's just keep all that out. Let's listen to all the chatter. Let's pull up Instagram, right? Let's look at what other people are doing with their lives.
Get lost in other people's.
Correct. Right. And then say, this is what I want.
Right.
Well, that's what, for one, we don't know that this is true at all, right? And our interpretation of it definitely is not true right off the bat, because we have no idea what's really going on. Right. We're just interpreting it instead of connecting to self. So I don't want people to get the wrong message. I don't want them not to connect to social media or the image, but the deeper thing, the foundation that we're building this home structure on is authenticity, really connecting to self, the true self, right? And all versions of that. I brought back in the kid that sang in the hairbrush and saw color and danced around the living room and,
But that also takes you bringing that kid back and all of that. I mean, it takes...
balls.
No, bringing all that colorfulness in takes a good foundation, right? It takes a solid foundation to be able to put all of those pieces on there.
Yeah, correct. And the awareness that the foundation that was originally there
was weak.
Was not built correctly.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So I think that's kind of where I was going. Because as I'm listening to you, and I love this analogy. I mean, I do.
It's definitely in my wheelhouse for sure.
I absolutely love it. It, there's a daily reflection of the readings that we do in recovery that talks about that. It talks about the slab and the walls and how you build those strong walls with actions, with practicing standards for yourself and others around you, because your standards affect the people around you, right? When you were sharing about your early family, it brought me back to mine and a very interesting thing that occurred. So my parents were very, very different. They had very different ways of parenting. My mother was rigid and very critical and a little bit aggressive. And my father was more accepting and loving, and he made you think, it was philosophies and all of those things. So they were very, very different. So I was either in this loving space with him or wanting to hide in the closet when I was around her because I was so fearful of her. It was a way of teaching, but I went off to boarding school at the age of 13 with this foundation that was fear or love. And
what an interesting juncture position, right? Fear or love.
Right. Because I am now on my own, surrounded by kids that are my age, and I am able to expose the me that I think I know, that I think I am, away from those standards that were placed by them, because now I'm away from them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So the loving side, the side that made me be a critical thinker and a person who thinks about others. I remember he and I traveling. We were going to an art exhibit, and I was so thirsty and so hungry for that because I'd been in boarding school for 4 years. I'm in Mexico City, and it's this beautiful city.
It is.
And I'm,
vibrant.
And he said, if you only had $20 in your pocket, and you see a guy that's asking for money, there's a restaurant where you want to go have a glass of wine, or you're going to go to this art exhibit. Those $20 that you have is the last $20 that you are going to use. What do you do with them? How do you spend those last $20? And so The idea was it's giving to someone with no expectation, taking joy in having that glass of wine, sharing it maybe with other people as you're sitting at the bar.
Right, having a joyous experience, yeah.
But the concept was that it is not just ours and that we're here to give and that we're here to be. It was about being selfless with that $20 or taking care of self with it. Whichever you wanted to do, there was no wrong choice.
Yeah, correct.
Right? And that life would provide. Because remember, this was your last 20. So that's the kind of philosophy that I learned. And then on the other side, all I learned was fear and run. And so my foundation was definitely faulty. It was give it all or keep it all to yourself. I get out of boarding school, I go off and I live on my own and I move to New York and I'm living life and I'm loving everything and everything is great and I'm on my own. That's the key piece of this. I'm on my own. And then all of a sudden I fall in love. I've been on my own since I left home at 13. I am now 38. I get to this space where I meet this man and we move in together and it's great. But 10 years into the relationship, I'm in that anxiety space that I was in when I was around my mother all the time.
Because of that foundation, right?
Exactly.
You decorated over the foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because what had happened was that I had not learned how to do an intimate relationship without fear and without giving away of myself and not putting myself in that space. Because if I did, I got scolded or I was told that it was incorrect. So out of fear, subconsciously, of course, right? Out of fear of abandonment, rejection, all of those things, I acted like that kid with my mother because that was the only other intimacy I knew. I'd never lived with anybody else other than a few roommates early on and in boarding school. So why am I telling this long, convoluted story? Because I had to go back in and I had to take a look at why that was faulty, why I had given up the self that had been able to be on her own and really show all those colors. Even though the foundation was faulty, there was no one in my space. So I could still hold all of those standards that I had of my own. But the moment somebody came and spent some time within my slab of a foundation, it started cracking because I didn't know how to be all those things that I had honored for myself with someone intimate.
Yeah.
And so it took a lot. It took a lot of work for me to bring that back, to understand, to internalize that part, that foundation needed to be rebuilt. It took a lot in the relationship for him to see that change in me. And at first it was shocking to him.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's like, so it's interesting because if you are not able to get to that foundation and get to make it nice and solid and really well cemented,
reinforced,
it is going to collapse no matter how you dress it.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
And so where I was truly blessed, or I feel that I was truly blessed, is that I was able to exercise all those other parts of that foundation that was kind of faulty to a really good degree all those years that I was alone. So I knew exactly how I wanted that foundation to be.
Oh, interesting. So
when I went back to reinforce it, was it painful? Did I have to take a look at some things that were painful? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I knew exactly where I wanted it to go because I had lived in that space of freedom, in that space of luxury within. So it was easier for me to go back and do that. I don't know if it's just because I was older, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because you had some time that you were alone, quite a long time, and you built this foundation on your own, right? You were familiar with it.
Correct.
Right? So you were able to, once you found out, okay, I need to rebuild this thing, a better version of this foundation, a more solid, tighter, reinforced, higher PSI concrete. You knew exactly where to go back and do it. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So awareness.
I mean, obviously I had help, therapy and more therapy and then therapy.
Well, right. It created awareness. Yeah, totally. Listen, I'm all for successful therapy. For me, Western therapy and Buddhism changed my life. Both.
I mean, I don't think we do anything alone, right? And that's how we get places, right? I mean, just like me realizing that my foundation was cracking because I wasn't alone, right? And I needed to build it to a place where it was better for us.
Correct. Right. Interesting. That's an interesting point because I've always been a loner, right? I've been an only child most of my life. I'm good on my own. I'm very independent, but I love being around people. So very traditional Aquarian, aloof and not at the same time, right? So very good point. In my relationships, I think the foundation wasn't secure, right? Because you were sharing the space now with somebody and they noticed that this window doesn't open and this door's not opening and, the bathroom tile's cracking and, and I noticed it because somebody else was around now. It wasn't just me twirling in it.
Exactly.
So it was more noticeable and apparent. And then as you get, at least for me, when I got to a certain point, I'm like, yo.
And I think that, it's very interesting that you bring the only child thing because I think that being an only child, because we're so comfortable being on our own is even more of a challenge to be able to see it until somebody else steps into that space.
Correct. Yeah, for sure.
And then you're like, oh shit, what happened to my balance?
Yeah,
to my slab, to my foundation, right?
Yeah. It took another set of eyes.
Yeah.
And then I'll point something out that's a little unique to me, but I think it's helpful in this conversation. I actually design and build homes.
Right.
So I am in a home environment all the time for work, right? And people are emotionally connected in some way to their home, whether they realize it or not, right? And I'm really an advocate for being positively emotionally connected. But what that does for my personal foundation, especially in a relationship, can be very difficult sometimes because
I was just going to say, expand on that.
I am living in the foundation 24 hours a day, the metaphor and the physical.
Got it.
Right? So because of that, it's a little emotional for me because it is my living. It is the way I make a living. It is my income source. So when somebody starts picking apart my foundation in my home, I can be a little defensive.
Sure.
Right? Or the opposite, I could be just over it because I'm in it all the time. Right? So it's a very unique structure when we're talking about this topic and then what I do for a living. Because, there was, as you know, I'll share something really personal. My ex-partner, and I think all partners moving forward, have an issue at some point with what I do for a living. And they think it's fabulous. Oh my God, James is going to come and fix the house. Or James is going to talk about some deep subjects intellectually and emotionally regarding the home. Right?
Okay.
Sounds great on paper.
Until
it becomes too much, usually, for one of us in the relationship because it's what I do. If you're living that constantly and your partner is an accountant, they leave all that at their work and they come home. They don't want to be in James's world of home and foundation and deep thinking and philosophy, right? For me and my partners, it can be a little a slippery slope, right? There needs to be some kind of separation and awareness at the same time.
Right.
And I have to take my ego out of it. Oh, I'm perfect. I fix my foundation, and I'm the professional, so I know what to do.
Yeah, but in all structures, I mean, we live in New York City, and I'm in real estate, so I know
structures very well.
So all the structures, all of them, if you're not constantly keeping up with them, there's going to be cracks. There's going to be things that move.
They shift.
So you constantly have to be taking care of that foundation. It's the way that we do with our bodies. We have to be constantly taking care of that, right? All of these things need tender care too. So yeah, when you have that visual and that sense that that's what you do, that can be a lot,
Correct.
to
blessing and a curse, right?
Right.
But to stay on topic,
right.
Building the foundation, do not design over it, right? Really examine the foundation. Is it cracking? Is there reinforcement? Is the PSI good in the concrete, etc.? Is it a good foundation that I can put walls? And it's never too late to do that. Because if we continue to design over a foundation that's sinking, there's no good coming from that.
Correct. And so, part of what we really mean with decorating and kind of building from this foundation is, what are your standards? How do you live? What do you honor of self and for others? Because that's really where the luxury of living comes from, right? Of creating this beautiful space, whether, the internal space, which is what we're really talking about, although we love to create beautiful spaces around us, It is about that, how, like for me, my closet is perfectly organized. Everything goes from light to dark.
Mine too.
And it's sleeveless, short sleeve, collar, no collar, but it's all like that. And of course, everything is between beige, navy, black, and white. That's it.
But you have a fashion background. So this lovely lady also spent years in fashion. So you also have an eye for that too.
But what I'm really getting to is about being organized and not having excess and just really enjoying everything you have as well. Because when you have a solid foundation and you then build things on top of that are your standards and your honor and your love for others and all of these other things, then there is that beautiful sense of peace that comes from luxuriating within that life and within that space.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's really what we're trying to get to here, right?
The standard of what you've created your standard to be, whatever that means to you, right? Not talking societal standards, whatever your standard is, that you find truly peaceful.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That you emotionally connect to in a positive way, that's a refuge for you. Home should be refuge. Right? Home here.
And home around you, right? Where you walk in and you go,
correct. It's a sanctuary.
I'm home.
Right? I really try to convince people to do that.
And it feels welcoming and it feels warm when you come in.
Correct.
It's not overly done. And right? I mean, whatever order, whatever.
Correct.
Whatever that is, like the importance of making the bed in the morning.
Love that. That's my routine.
It's beautiful.
A lot of people don't know this, but I have a altar a Buddhist altar in my bedroom.
Okay.
And I live in New York. So one of the reasons I make my bed in the morning, and I always have, for one, I love a beautifully made bed, right? And I love to play around with changing it and all that. But it not only looks good to me, it feels good when I go to bed, but it's respecting the environment, especially because I have a altar in my room. I'm creating an environment, a respectful environment for the divine, whatever the divine is for you. So I go over and beyond, and I make sure that the room always is clean. Everything's put together out of respect for this faith I have in the higher being. And I enjoy making a bed, but so I totally get it.
Yeah. You know,
totally.
For me, it's literally go and turn the bed down. At the end of the day, I take this sheet and I fold it over so my husband can get in on one side and get in on the other side.
Wow.
And the pillows are propped exactly the way that they need to be so that we can go to sleep, because I think there's a beauty in that. There's a beauty in honoring yourself, honoring your space, honoring all of those things.
Well, that's the foundation we talked about, right?
Exactly.
That reinforcing the foundation.
Is honoring the self. Right.
Totally.
Just one quick little tidbit, which I think is and you'll know exactly what I'm trying to say. Clients come to me and they're like, well, their square footage and that floor plan doesn't feel right, or it doesn't make any sense, or da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I don't want to. A 700 square foot apartment in New York City is spacious. It's comfortable, right? But
that
it
is
also
a decent size space in New York City.
For anyone in exactly. In New York, but you know, you have 700 to 800 square feet, and you can do a lot in that.
Correct.
But if it's cut up in a way that it's all halls and this and that and the other, it can feel like a cramped 400 square feet.
Yeah.
And so when people are like, "No, I can't look at it because it's only this," I'm like, "Go take a look at it and feel the space." Because you have to kind of feel that. It's again, the same idea, right? Whenever you're in a space, it's about how do you feel in that space and how do you create it so that it can honor that other foundation, which is your internal and your spiritual being. When you can honor that foundation in your outer space, you've really created a luxurious life.
Agreed. And I love all that. And I 1000% agree. You'd be surprised how many people, unfortunately, though, just look at a magazine or at what the trend is, and they are not connecting emotionally at all, right? And what you're talking about is this luxury from inside, creating an environment that is a refuge. If you're not emotionally connected to it, right? Metaphor or not, it's never going to feel like a refuge, peaceful place. Home is just going to be empty. And for me, I really try to teach people that it can be so much more than that.
And it's so important.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So important. So, we'd like to leave everybody with a closing statement for the week, a thought for the week.
So this week,
tell us.
Fix the structure before decorating it. If you don't know how to do that, look at the fundamentals in the foundation that maybe need to be there. Don't decorate over a broken structure. Think of what the foundation needs to be for you, and then build from there.
Beautiful. Thank you, James. I loved it. Loved it. This is SeamNotes, luxury from the inside out. New episodes every Wednesday. We'll see you next week.